listen to this news clip here.
We now know 3 more chemicals that were on board the Norfolk Southern train that derailed here in East Palestine just over a week ago. And we're being told that some of those chemicals are dangerous.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency sent a letter to Norfolk Southern stating that ethylene glycol monobutyl ether, ethylexyl-acrylate, and isobutylene were also in the rail cars that were derailed, breached, or on fire. Caggiano says ethylexyl-acrylate is especially worrisome. He says it's a carcinogen, and contact with it can cause burning and irritation in the skin and eyes. Breathing it in can irritate the nose, throat, and cause coughing and shortness of breath. Isobutylene is also known to cause dizziness and drowsiness when inhaled.
I was kind of surprised when they quickly told the people they can go back home, but then said if they feel like they want their homes tested, they can have them tested. I would have far rather they did all the testing.
Caggiano says it's possible some of these chemicals could still be present in homes and on objects until you clean them thoroughly.
There's a lot of what ifs, and we're going to be looking at this thing 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line and wondering, gee, cancer clusters could pop up, well water could go bad.
Caggiano recommends anyone who's in the East Palestine area get a health checkup. He says get a record of where your health stands now so that moving forward, you have documentation of any possibly related effects to the train derailment.
So capitalism's solution for the people, figure it out yourselves, motherfucker. Figure it out.
I hate to laugh, but that's how it is. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's like you go to your doctor, nigga. You know how many millions of people don't have a doctor? So what do those people do? Go to your doctor and check it out. Go pay a copay of $30, $45, $50. Go pay a copay, take time out of work, lose money there to go to a doctor to get checked out about something y'all did, about something the rail industry did. This is the reason why, JB, it's important that things like the rail industry, like hospitals, that all be owned by us. That's the reason, because we're not going to poison ourselves. You get what I'm saying? We're going to put the highest standards and we're going to pay for it. It's not a profit motive in it. We're not going to cut back on safety regulations, which contributed to that. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. But JB, any reaction to this first part and to, anything I said, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to your point, how many people are going to show up and wait until there's an emergency and then show up to the emergency room? Right. And then next thing you know, they have these astronomical bills to have to pay for it. Flush 75 says capitalism. Oh, sorry.
I put that back up. Sorry.
Yeah, capitalism, privatize the gain, socialize the losses. That's absolutely the way it's done in this system. Is that they use the loss to be put on us, and whether that's a financial loss or an environmental loss or a health loss, they don't care. And so that's how they do it. They put it on us. Joseph Betts says, "Where's FEMA? Nowhere to be found."
This person, Michael says, you can read it. Go ahead, JP.
It says, I live 20. I guess you said.
I think it's live.
Yeah. I live 20 minutes from there. Might be taking camera to council meeting tomorrow. What a effing nightmare. Yeah, absolutely. And then
if you do that, Michael, can I say one thing? If you do this, Michael, if you take cameras down there and you got footage, email that to us and we'll bring you on the show. So you can talk to us about what happened when you're down there. So I'll let me quickly here. So here is our email. So email us info@revblacknetwork.com if you do take a camera, or if you just go, even if you don't take a camera, if you go and you can report back on it, we'll bring you on for a segment just to talk about that. Go ahead, JB. With the other comment.
So Marvin Vargas says War Complex gets $10 billion for balloon defense system. No money for infrastructure, emergency action plans for disasters. Yeah, true. Thanks for the super chat.
And that's what Nick says all the time. The central planning model for The central planning model for capitalism is literally non-existent for us. There is no central plan. There is none. So let me go to another clip here. Let me see where it's at. 1 second. Yeah. Oh, this one I didn't play yesterday. So let's look at this clip and listen.
Friday, 20 of them carrying hazardous materials as flames lit up the sky.
I think we missed a second, so let me rewind it just so we can catch that first word.
Massive train derailed Friday, 20 of them carrying hazardous materials as flames lit up the sky in northeastern Ohio.
The evacuation order is in place for anyone within a mile radius of the crash site.
These aren't storm clouds. This is the fucking shit! The fucking shit they burn off in East Palestine! This is not fucking storm clouds! Look at it!
Horrible. I got arrested because I was trying to do a live report about people.
Officials are.
I'm going to pause it and see if I can read what it said there to everybody. Okay, I'll read it here. According to Norfolk Southern Railroad, the controlled release process involved in the burning of the rail cars chemicals, which will release fumes into the air that can be deadly if inhaled. Based on current weather patterns and the expected flow of the smoke and fumes, anyone who remains in the red affected areas is facing grave danger of death. Anyone who remains in the yellow impacted area is at high risk of severe injury, including skin burns and serious lung damage.
Officials are claiming that the air and water are safe. Residents say they can still smell chlorine. They've complained about their eyes watering when they go outside, and one woman says the noxious air killed her chickens.
Out of nowhere, he just started coughing really hard and just shut down and went very fast.
At all these.
I will also read that. I think there was another thing I would try to read here. Let's see what it says here. I think it's a news clipping. Oh no, they're just pointing out the highlighted part. Okay, so just pointing out in a sentence, they all air quality is fine.
Yeah.
At all these fucking crows.
I'm not kidding.
This is within 10 miles of East Palestine.
If you have not evacuated, please leave the area.
What the hell's going on, JB? Why are journalists being arrested? Why is mainstream media barely glancing at this? What is it? What's happened? It feels like they know something. They just don't want panic to ensue. That's what it feels like to me. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to tell you this too. And if you allow me, I'm going to share my screen really quick because I found something. And this is going to give us some context as to why they are covering up what they're covering up. All right, so this is out of the census data, census.gov, okay? And we're down to race and ethnicity of East Palestine, Ohio. So alone in East Palestine, Ohio, there are 13 native Indian and Alaska natives, only 16 Asians in East Palestine, 33 Black or African Americans in East Palestine, 74 Hispanic or Latino people in East Palestine, 1 Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander, non-Hispanic or Latino, is 4,427. Some other race is 28. 2 or more race is 213. White is 4,457, meaning over 90% of East Palestine is white. White. They have a median income of $44,000 a year in East Palestine, Ohio. You want to know why they're not talking about this? Because white people would be outraged at the treatment of their own. You see, it can happen in Jackson, Mississippi, because that's predominantly black. And it's like, oh, okay, fine. Oh, poor black people in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, the Negroes are dying. Right? That's okay. The Negroes are dying.
Right? The Negroes can die in Michigan. Right? Mm-hmm. In a predominantly black town in Michigan. But the moment they start dying like crazy in an all-white town in middle America, that's when shit hits the fan. And they don't want to talk about it because then, remember a couple weeks ago when me and Sabby were talking about what Whoopi said about regarding the police? Will white people have to be beaten in order for white people to actually truly understand what we're going through, right? Guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what? White people are now going to see what we're going through in Michigan, right? They're going to see what we're going through in Jackson, Mississippi, and all other places in a predominantly white town that has a median income of around 40,000. That's many towns in this country. Mm-hmm. And they don't want people to know about it because guess what? That means a lot of people are going to get pissed off and in the streets because you're going to find out, oh, they're doing to us what they did to all of y'all who have a lot of extra melanin in your skin. And so that's what's going on. Because when I heard about this story, I was like, what's the racial makeup of East Palestine? And when I saw it was over 94% white, I was like, holy shit, this is why they're not saying anything. That's why.
They don't want to
and people can tell me I'm wrong, but
they don't want to cause a panic. It's yeah, I'll leave it there. Let me play one other. This will be the closeout. This is more of a clip, more than a clip. They give the most information. I saved this one.
Yeah.
For last, I give a little more detail. So I'm actually gonna play a little more. I'll back it up a little bit and play it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So turns out there's actually a older movie that talks about this very thing. A train derailment with chemicals that burn and kills people in the city. There's this movie, and they kind of talk about that in the beginning. So let's listen. Let's listen.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez as we turn to Ohio, where residents of East Palestine are living the real-life version of the Oscar-nominated Netflix movie some helped make when they were extras in that film. This is part of the trailer for White Noise, about a suburban community that faces a so-called airborne toxic event after a train wreck causes a chemical leak.
Something that could actually kill someone. Let's watch a sitcom.
Sometimes it feels like they put these things in media to kind of get us ready for shit that's really going to happen. Sometimes it feels like they're making these movies to get us prepared because Hollywood is in bed with the government completely.
Oh, yeah. CJ, have you ever heard,
JB.
You ever heard the phrase, truth is stranger than fiction?
Yes.
Case in point.
God is a hack writer.
Damn. Go ahead and do it like that now. Damn, Austin.
funny. All right, let's listen to some more, JB. Unless you wanted to chime in some more, we can play a little more.
No, we can go. Yeah.
Or something.
They're calling it the airborne toxic event.
It won't come this way.
Will we have to leave our home?
Of course not.
How do you know?
I just know.
Okay, what if it's dangerous?
We have a situation.
White Noise stars Greta Gerwig and Adam Driver. But in real life, Palestine, Ohio, fears of a wider health and environmental disaster are growing after a 150-car freight train operated by Norfolk Southern derailed and released toxic chemicals last week. Yes, in the community of East Palestine near Ohio's border with Pennsylvania. Data released by the Environmental Protection Agency shows the train contained more toxic and carcinogenic chemicals than initially reported. The EPA also said, quote, materials released during the derailment were observed and detected in samples from Sulphur Run, Leslie Run, Bull Creek, North Fork, Little Beaver Creek, and the Ohio River. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources estimates the spill killed more than 3,500 fish in surrounding waterways. Chickens have been found dead in their coops. Residents have reported sore throats, burning eyes, and respiratory problems.
And there's no action from our government. There's no mobilization. There's none of this, JB. It is completely, I mean, some of this shit still surprised me that they are not putting up any sort of front anymore about this. There's no more, oh, we're pretending like no, they're not pretending anymore at all. No. So I'm gonna fast forward to this young lady here because she talks a lot more in depth about what's happening and some of the effects. So let's listen.
Calling a chemically driven environmental nightmare. What does it look like, smell like? Describe what happened when the train derailed and how you learned about how you had to protect yourself.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. One of the things that I really want people to know is that this event has kind of three parts. So Friday night, we had the derailment around 9 p.m. in between 9 and 10. And residents that were right at the site, were evacuated. Then the next day, they evacuated more people on Saturday because it was still burning. And at this time, we didn't know what was on the cars. We heard maybe it was vinyl chloride, maybe it was 10 cars, maybe it was 5. We really didn't have a great picture of what was, on the train. So we were told that if you were outside of that mile zone, you're okay. I live a few short miles. I think on the tracks, there's 5 miles in between where I'm at and where the derailment was. And, you should be okay. And they kept saying the same thing over and over again on the media and in the press conferences. There's no toxins in the air. There's no toxins. Don't worry. Sunday night, we got an alert on our phone that there had been an additional explosion and that the fire was out of control again, which it never really was in control. We have pictures and videos that timestamp.
So understand, people, the shit was already on fire on Friday. The explosion that kind of put this into national media where now everybody's talking about, that happened on Sunday. 2 different times. This was already burning, releasing all these fumes on Friday. It was already doing this, and it wasn't a national story at that time. So I just want people to understand there's 2 different things. The explosion, but the fire had already been happening since Friday. Continually burning. Nobody doing anything. These capitalists do not care about you, your kids, no one. They don't care about you.
Clear through that show it was burning, and to just be aware. Like there was really no evacuation for us, just people that were a little bit further out from the radius. They were concerned on Monday morning that we were going to have an explosion. I will give everybody, this much, that the explosion could have been much, much worse. So they announced to everybody that they were going to do a controlled release. and I'm using air quotes when I say controlled. So they were supposed to do it at 3:30. My daughter was going to be on the bus route at that time. I already was experiencing symptoms of, I have asthma, so I was having shortness of breath already, and was concerned, you know, from that burn, I already had irritation. But when they did the release, they were supposed to do it at 3:30 p.m. They announced on a huge, you know, press conference. Mike DeWine was there. All of a sudden, they stopped the press conference. They evacuated DeWine. We work with a lot of, you know, we're nonpartisan, nonprofit, so we work with a lot of, you know, both sides of the aisle, politicians, and had, you know, got confirmation that he had been rushed out of there. The media was given 5 minutes to get out, that they were pretty sure an explosion was imminent. So they did not do the burn at 3:30. I can't tell you why. They did it 2 hours later. The problem is we had forecasted high wind gusts up to 45 miles an hour. We get a lot of wind in our area. The hills usually break it up, but it was announced that it was going to be very windy. So what they wanted to do was let it off earlier so the cloud would go. I'm sorry, 1 second, my voice. So the cloud would go straight up. It wouldn't span out. So they let it off late, and instead the winds caught it. It went over 4 counties, 4 to 5 counties in 2 states, actually 3, because the panhandle of West Virginia was also affected. So we have Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all affected by this huge mushroom cloud. You've all seen the pictures, I'm sure. We started in my home, being just a few short miles away, experiencing nausea. Sorry to be explicit, but diarrhea. My father has bilateral asbestosis from working in the mill.
Wow.
So these industries are killing us in more than one way. And he couldn't.
Like I said, these capitalists don't care. These things are killing. Whatever. This cost of doing business. That's how they look at our lives. I can't unsee this type of stuff here. Let's continue. A couple more minutes here.
And you know, I wanted to evacuate. We had family that was telling us to come, but then there was this massive shelter in place order put down. Do not be out if you don't have to. Shelter in place. In the same breath, we're hearing on a press conference and on the news, this is out of an extreme abundance of caution. There's no toxins. There's no toxins. There's no toxins. There's no toxins. That's all we kept hearing. But the only thing I really want to highlight, and I'm sorry if I'm going on too much, is what we found out through the org. We've been on the ground talking with people. We're actually investing. Our offices are in East Liverpool, Ohio, which is just a little bit south of East Palestine. But we have a lot of members of our org that live like me in and around East Palestine. So we've invested in the community and are bringing on a couple organizers that are right outside the front door of the Derailment, you know, to work with people. Because from day one, we've been fed what wasn't the truth. And now we find out with this EPA report that over 10,000 gallons of oil went into the ground, that the vinyl chloride was like double what we thought. And there was diethylene glycol, and there's other chemicals. Norfolk Southern, from what the EPA says, did not report this to the EPA in a timely manner.
They know what's going on, JB. And we can pause it. I mean, I can stop it here because we'll stop it here. Why the hell do they need to arrest a journalist unless they know, JB, what's there and they don't want to get it out? That's why nobody wants to cover it. That's why they're telling all the residents it's non-toxic. They know what's going on there, JB, and they don't want this to get out. They know. Ridiculous. Any final thoughts on this before we close out the segment, sir?
Yeah, that's
terrible.
That's euthanasia on a mass scale. That's genocide, man.